Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Circle of the World podcast, where we discuss Joe Abercrombie's first law series. I am one of your hosts, Lord Chamberlain Jeffery, and here are my co-hosts.
Archlector George.
And Harrison, the Adeptus Historical.
Today we are covering Before They Are Hanged, the second book in the original trilogy. For this episode, we'll be discussing Heading North, Scant Mercy, and So This Is Pain. So let's get started.
First of all, we've got to apologise for Jeff's pixelated state.
Everyone's probably like, oh god, is this the whole podcast? And they heard us talking and they were like, oh, okay. It's just Jeff.
Sorry, guys. It's just me. I'm talking on my AirPods because I'm in Philadelphia at my friend's apartment on our way to Virginia for a vacation. So I'm doing this on the road, baby. I'm still trying to keep the podcast going.
Hashtag dedicated.
Circle of the World on the road.
Which will be coming to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's gonna happen for real when you guys come over here. That's gonna be great.
Yeah, that's it. I'm flying to the States in March, and we're probably gonna do a live stream or something, aren't we? So that would be fun.
Oh, that would be fucking sick.
Yeah, you gotta figure out
t-shirts.
We should make some t-shirts
with our goofy faces plastered on the front.
Yeah.
It's
gonna be like a worst pictures, like the one that Sir Spaceman was using in some of our.
Yeah, that was a great one. What else? So yeah, thank you for your patience for dealing with my shoddy audio quality. Hopefully, George, you can purdy me up during the editing.
I will do my best.
Mm-hmm. And thank you, George, and thank you all again for your support. And just to remind you all, if you could just follow us on the social medias and all that jazz. So moving on to our first segment, which is our first chapter read through. Harrison,
Heading North. So we start with the Dogman, who is just basically worn the fuck out. He is sitting down, looking over Bethod's army. They're all moving about, and he's just sitting there reminiscing about everything that he's been through. How he's always, he fought for Bethod, he fought against Bethod. He's for armies just like this, in the cold and the rain and the mud. Just nonstop, constantly. And this beginning part too is one of those things too that he is, he's obviously kind of being depressed, and it's kind of the first time we see Dogman have any other, like, I don't want to say deeper emotion, because he was of course sad, of course, when Forley died, and he was like, oh, I'm angry, but like visceral, like in the moment visceral emotion where he's just like, I am tired of this, and he looks at Grimm, who's scouting with him, and is like, all this effort, and for what? Everything's the same as ever. Whose side are we on it now? When do we get a rest?
And Grimm's just like, when we're dead?
And he says it like a question.
There's some comic relief from Grimm there. No, it's sad. We see some real, like you say, from raw emotion from Dogman here. He's meant to be doing this job. He's watching these Carls march past the forest, and he's just like, fuck me, man. What's the fucking point? It's been like 10 years, and I'm still doing the same old fucking thing.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm sure is something a lot of people can relate with.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't done anything for 10 years other than live.
You'll get there one day.
Oh boy. So then, Dogman and Grimm, they head back. And it takes Dogman a while to find the others. But once he finds them, he said it wasn't that hard to find them, really, because there's like 4 Southerners that are just like fucking not very, subtle. They're not blending in and everything.
Yeah, they're loud as fuck.
Yeah. Which explains why in a minute here, fucking Three Cheers is like, you stupid idiots. But
great fucking baggage.
He tells them that, hey, Bethod's heading north and all that, and they are, that's whenever Three Trees is like, oh yeah, I've got some fucking baggage right here, whatever, we're not gonna catch him. It's just everyone's sad, all right.
Yeah. Dow's complaining as usual, and then he starts being very creepy, doesn't he?
Yeah, he gets creepy here.
He's like, they're talking about the Southerners and how they're baggage and all that, and he looks over and he looks at Cathville, who is apparently, either ugly, but not ugly enough for people not to want her whenever everyone is horny. Because none of these
No,
guys have got.
I think she's just skinny.
Well, they say she's got some. They say she's got some knockers. All right.
Really? I don't know. Jesus Christ, Harrison.
It said she had a share of knocks.
That's what. This is Harrison's homeschool education coming into play once again. Fucking Christ.
Anyways, Dow, it doesn't even matter what she looks because Dow's like, man, she's so tough. Dogman's like, man, tough looking girl. And then Dow's like, I'd reckon that she'd sleep with me.
That's not exactly what he said. I think didn't he say like she might struggle some or something like that?
Yeah. I reckon she kicks some.
Yeah, I'd reckon when she struggle, I reckon she kicks some. Which is probably the darkest thing that Dow says inside of the thing. And despite all of his bluster, this right here is probably it's probably the worst thing he says, let's be honest.
Yeah, and we get a little bit of a lore tidbit here that something happened to three trees tools.
Right.
And, probably catch straight Dow for talking like that.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's pretty clear what that thing was happening to his daughter, seeing as his daughter also is not around.
Right.
I think she gives you that extra layer there.
It doesn't take much to put 2 and 2 together from like what Dogman said, I remember.
Yeah. Dogman basically says, hey, this is how Three Cheese feels about that. You know what happened to his daughter? He'd cut your fucking fruits off if he heard you talking that way. And then Dow, how he is, like, what? I'm just talking, aren't I?
And then he goes on this big rant about I fucking love it. Ain't you getting tired of fucking your hand? And then the Dogman tells him to go and stick his dick in some snow instead, and that probably helped.
That's a good way to, tamp down your boner.
Stick your cock in the snow if you have to. He
or
does
stick
say,
it in the Prince.
Oh, Jesus. But Dow was like, I'll have to stick it in something. I can tell you that. And then they kind of turn their attention over to Ladislaw, and West gave him his coat, and Dogman is like, that wasn't very smart because Ladislaw obviously doesn't give a shit. And Dow's like, what the fuck? Who is this guy? And he's like, oh, I heard him. He's the son of the king of the Union or something, or his father's the king of the Union itself. And Black Dow is like, why does it matter whose son you are? If you ain't worth more than a turd.
Yeah.
I wouldn't piss on him if he was burning. The bastard.
And this is within earshot of West, right? Like, you can hear him. He's like,
oh, yeah.
He's like, oh, no.
West's just getting more and more nervous by the minute. He's like, oh, fuck.
He's like, they're gonna fucking kill us.
So then we go to West's perspective.
Yeah, and they're all sitting around not a fire, but they're all sitting around in a circle. They're not allowed to have a fire because they're so close to Bethod's army, and they're kind of discussing what they need to do. And I know we're still inside of Dogman's perspective.
Are we?
Yeah.
Cool. My bad.
It's all good.
I thought we switched over to West because how does Dogman know what Ladislaw says when Ladislaw's like,
Dogman can speak common, bro.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
He can at the very least understand it. He may not be able to speak it well, but
right. No, you're right. He does.
Speaking of this, I love this sort of explanation of language here because it's funny that like Ladislaw calls the Union language common tongue, but everyone else refers to it as Union. So it's like he's just so like self-centered. He just imagines that like the Union language is like the standard language.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
which as an English person, that really hits home.
It is the standard.
It's the fucking standard language.
It is common, bitches.
Common throughout the world.
You're right. I like this part too because, like, when he talks about who can speak it, the people who can speak it is Three Trees and Dogman can only fully understand it. Tolderoo can probably get like the gist of it of kind of what they're saying. And he doesn't know the actual like meaning of the words really. And then
Dow probably none.
Dow doesn't know any. And finally, they don't know what Grimm knows, but I'll see in a minute. But it's kind of funny. And then Wes is the only one of the three of those ones that can speak Northern, of the Cathil and Pike and Ladislaw. So when they're talking, there's like this weird mixture of not everybody knows exactly what everybody's saying. And I love how the fact that Tolderoo knows the gist of it means that whenever Ladislaw starts saying, "It's high time that we discussed our plans."
Some of us are laboring in the dark.
Three Trees is like, reckon he's getting. Sorry, Tolderoo's like, reckon he's complaining something about plans. This is great. It's just like the way they're understanding it, and then Dow's only hearing, something about plans, I reckon, and then Dow's like, "Oh, what an asshole." So they're talking about what to do, and basically they're like, okay, we're gonna follow Bethod back up because we're gonna get to Lord Marshal Burr's army before he does, but because we know he's heading back up north, probably to link up with the rest of his boys, to then maybe so that way he doesn't catch Burr off, because basically what they talk about is that they kind of mentioned it previously, but how Bethod's going to break down their army. He's going to take one little bite, he's going to split them up and chop them into pieces, eat them whole, eat them, and take them out, and then he'll go after the cities. Once he wipes them all out and finally defeats them, and we've already seen him do it once or twice actually. So
right,
they're talking about what to do, and that's how they're gonna do. What they're gonna do is go back up to Burr and tell him what Bethod's gonna do. And in the middle of that, the prince slams the ground and says, "I demand to know what is happening. What is being said." It's so fucking stupid.
I can't believe after all this time, like, we don't get really like a sense of how much time they've been traveling, but they have no idea that they're going north and not south. They just have no fucking idea what they're doing. Like, what the fuck?
Especially Ladislaw.
Yeah.
He's like, wait, we've been going the wrong way.
Yeah. And Ladislaw basically tells them, "Oh, we're gonna go south," and then Grimm just turns around and goes, "Right, that's settled then. You're going south, we're going north. I need to piss."
He's so tired of it too. He's so tired that he's willing to like fucking break his code.
Yeah.
Ladislaw's like, "Very well. I should have expected no better." He just and then Cathy was like, "Do you even know which way that is?" And finally they're just like, "We should go south and everything." And Three Cheese is like, "All right, whatever. You guys don't get a vote, so whatever. You guys are baggage." Then they start packing up, start getting ready to move, and Three Trees just roast him. He's like, "You had your chance to give orders, not to mention all the fools who did what you told them. You're not adding my boys, my name to the list. I can tell you that. If you want to follow us, you best learn to keep up. If you want to give the orders, well." And then Dogman speaks up and is like, "South is that way. Good luck."
Oh, wow. What do you guys think of this chapter?
Oh, I'm giving it a 6 out of 9. Just for like the comedy of it, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with a 7. Actually, I really like this one. It's like
Okay.
so much like interpersonal, inter-character sort of interaction here, and you see the tables have completely turned from when the last time the Northmen interacted with Ladislaw.
Right, before when he was very dismissive.
I mean, everybody's still equally confused and befuddled, but it's just the other way around now.
Right. Well, I think they're still confused by his like choice of dress and his behaviors, but
Yeah. What about you, Harrison?
I think I'm gonna go with 7.5 because the same reason you guys said, but like, I also really like the Dogman part. Like, I don't know, this is the first time that whenever I was reading the book that I actually started to care about the Dogman because of how he was thinking. How he's kind of I don't want to say defeatist, but he was just kind of down, and he, despite him being down, is still like, he just keeps carrying on. And Grimm's moments are really good, and I like the little, like you said, all the little character moments are very good, and they show all the characters very well. The only person who doesn't talk is Pike, and that's fine, because he's that's his thing. So, but yeah, no, I think it's just a really well written chapter with everybody interacting, even though it's not very long.
Yeah, nice.
Good.
Good scores. I like that. We'll want to move on to our next segment, which is best meme of the week. Georgie.
Okay. This week we have a user watermelon mannequin on Reddit, and I think I had one of our first memes of the week, but all the way back in the day, back in fucking June.
Wow.
Back in
God, it really was a long time ago.
It was.
And it's just with the close council's reaction whenever the king suggests doing something nice for a change, and it's just every single suspicious, nasty-looking guy. But like,
it's even a dog.
Yeah, and they just keep coming, don't they? So yeah, that will be in a link in the description, and it will be on our website soon as well. So go and check that out. Thank you very much, Watermelon Mannequin.
Thanks. And so we'll move on to our second chapter read through, and this is Scant Mercy.
Georgie, lead it off.
So we are straight back with Glockter in one of his letters, and he's just letting him know, he's reassuring him that the siege is going well. They've come against him 3 times, and they've thrown him back 3 times, and he's telling them about Magister Ida, and Magister Ida's, she's safely dead, but we didn't want to put her head on the walls because after all, we are the civilized faction.
And he goes on and on, but it's like kind of the typical stuff, right? And whenever he says that to him, too, it makes you wonder: does he actually believe that? Because he hates the Gurkish, or is it just his his charade that he has keep going for the art selector? He's like, oh yes, propaganda. I don't know.
Yeah, that is interesting. Like I always read that as slightly sarcastic.
I did too, but I don't know. He does hate the Gurkish.
But then he knows better than anyone, like what goes on behind the scenes in the Union. So
that's true. Maybe that's what he was implying, that they're both. Yeah, you're probably right. Savage.
He ends the letter with basically saying, "Oh, don't worry about Magister Ida. She's gone now. So yeah, just don't worry.
Don't worry about it. It's all good." I got to point out also, I like how Harrison. Did you say charade?
Yeah.
For charade.
Don't bring me into this.
George knows the proper way. He's the only one who can correct this. And since he's not getting involved, there is no correct answer. So you better take your charade elsewhere.
I think it is charade, isn't it?
No, in American, it's charade.
In a what?
In American. In American. It's right. Charade, buddy.
We'll let you, dear viewer, decide that.
Yeah,
it can be
let
either.
us know what you think.
It's the English language. It can be whatever the fuck I want,
all right, you're right. I'm sorry, Harrison. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay, Jeffrey. You're probably right. Anyways, Galacta is now down by the water, and he's reminiscing about how only a few short moments ago everyone was dying over here, and fighting, and you can hear death everywhere. But he's sitting there, and he's some 2 figures come up out of the gloom, and they're right beside the wharfs on the dock there, and one of them is Frost, and the other one's a small figure, and Glockta has Frost lift the hood, and what do you know? It's Carlet Dan Ida. And he remarks how she's, with all her kind of a slight torture, but not really that bad of torture, she looks like, all vulnerable and weak and childlike and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And she's basically like, oh, I guess this is the end. She's like, she's done. But Glockta is not going to he's not going to do that. He is going to send her off on a ship to Westport. And, he's like, you have contacts in Westport? And she's like, yeah, I have contacts everywhere. and they
He basically gets a deal with her. He basically says, "You've got to disappear. You've got to go away, never come back, and for that you can go." So he's actually we don't really know why. We kind of know because of Ida's motivations that were revealed in previous chapters, but Glockter is strangely in his inner monologue.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he does turn around and say, like, "Oh, that's the question, isn't it? Why do I do this?" But he doesn't.
wait.
Never gives us a satisfactory answer, now, does he?
No.
Yet, despite that, somehow it fits his character. This act.
Yeah, I'll tell you so. Defines it, maybe.
Yeah, and he.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, it's just interesting. She's like basically all like, in another life. That's basically what she says.
Yeah.
If you weren't a cripple and I wasn't a traitor and we were in this situation, she's like, thanks. And it is kind of sweet because this is really the first time, and totally the last time that we see Galacta like show, compassion like this, and he is, nervous about it, and he doesn't really know if he should have done it, and he doesn't know why he did it. He just did it, and he's like, "All right, well, that's done," and then moves on.
Yeah. Doesn't give it a second thought. And now we're on the walls with Koska,
Yes.
and there's an attack in progress. Probably isn't the best place for Glockter to be, but he's got to oversee it, hasn't he?
Mm-hmm. As the superior. Mm-hmm.
And this is probably the first sort of proper siege scene that we get. We get horrible image of waves after waves of these Gurkha soldiers rushing up, trying to put fucking rocks in the river, trying to get the ladders on the walls, and being shot to shreds and bleeding out in the sand. It's all very horrible. It's all very Kingdom of Heaven.
Yeah, that's a good reference.
Nice. Yeah, nice one.
Yeah, I always like the detail of in these kinds of things where they talk about like the animals, like the normal, not us, we're all animals, but the the birds, how the birds. He's talking about there's like a whole bunch of different birds just like fucking chomping away and just nom nom nom. It's like, damn, because I mean, no one's gonna pick up those bodies, like fuck that.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right, it is looks terrible.
Mm-hmm.
But the main thing that he also noticed too is like that the channel has almost been completely filled up, which means once they fill the channel and then they start using battering rams and more in ladders, they don't have the numbers to probably hold the walls the entire time, all the time, with the amount of numbers that the Gurkhas are bringing, and then they're the gates might fall. If the gates fall, then that the land walls are their main defense.
Yeah.
So they're kind of. He's telling him, hey, we need to like get a sortie together and go out there and fight him. And I love Koska's reaction to this. It's such a Koska reaction. He like looks at him like, you want to send men out in the middle of the night across enemy lines, or not across, but like right next to enemy lines to dig all night long. So that way they can hopefully make a channel that's going to get filled right back up again.
Yeah.
And then Glock is like, we also need to build barricades behind the gates.
Yeah.
It's probably like one of the only things that it's one of the few tactical things that Glockta thinks about that is a very good tactical option, but like in the scenario of human morale, it would never work.
Mm-hmm.
Like you just couldn't get people to do it.
Yeah, no, you'd have to pay me a lot of money to do that one.
Or even being a Dagoskin, you're like, I'm still up on the walls, and you want me to go down there in the middle of the night and dig a hole? It's a death sentence.
Like, fuck that.
Anyways, so they're talking about what to do, and Visbrook is basically all like, "Oh man, we got to treat him with respect and everything," which is interesting because he's like, "Oh, we got to admire them," and they're like, "No." Koska's like, okay.
Yeah. Koska's like, they've got the most dangerous of qualities. They think they're right. And Visbrook's like, but it is us who's in the right. And it's like, yeah, that's the whole point.
You're like, yeah, you're getting it now. Is what Koska says. Like, congratulations. Yeah, shit. So then they're sitting there on the walls, and then they're like, "Hey, you see that?" And he's like, "What is it?" And he looks up, and he's like, "Is that a bird?" And then they're like, Galactus' inner monologue here is great. Sure.
Yeah. He's just like waiting for it. He's like, "Is it coming for me? Am I going to be squashed by a rock? What a random way to die!" And he's just like starts to smile, and then just crashes somewhere else. And he's like, "Oh."
I love too. He's like, "What is that? A bird? A stone? A stone from a catapult?" He's like piecing it together. But Severod's having none of this shit. Like, they're starting to like come up on the walls, and Casca's like, "Yes, men, fight!" He's all like heroic and shit, like standing up on the walls, like, "Come at me, bitches!" And Severod's like, "Listen, we're we're the Inquisition. We don't fight these battles. Let's get out of here."
Yeah.
And as everyone's starting to fight and stuff, and then the rocks are coming down, Galactus like, "Okay, I've had enough now. I've had enough." he comes down as well, and it is just interesting to see how Casca is, oh, he's a drunk and everything, and then you see these moments where he's like the hero from the storybook.
Well, he gets up for the fighting,
Yeah. Also, really like the little detail as they're getting closer and stuff that the Gurkish use like wicker shields and stuff, like big old ones to cover their advance. I think it's like that's a cool little detail, like them having wicker and not some like big metal thing that would fucking kill you in the summertime or something.
Yeah, I imagine that's their light infantry, and that's so they're more lightly armored. I imagine they're heavy infantry, or because doesn't the Gurkish Empire have like different fighting factions? Because it's so big, there's different countries like Kanta, Seljuk, all them. Like they have different styles. I imagine not one uniform. What's the word I'm looking for? Like it's not one uniform military.
Yeah, it's like the Persian Empire. Yeah, it's like they're from different people. Yeah, they are. Yeah, and but I think the wicker shield's referring to here is basically they're moving these up in front of the line. That way they don't take as much fire. Right. Although I will say that against crossbow fire, especially not crossbow, a Union flatbow fire, those things are fucking crazy, and they probably don't do anything.
They don't do nothing.
So.
I mean, wicker is actually a remarkably good, once it's thick enough anyway, it's a remarkably good deterrent against arrows because it just absorbs so much energy. And this is actually a real medieval thing. This would be called a mantlet. Wow. And you basically you'd have teams of like 20 in front of the actual, whoever's carrying the rocks in this case, and they'd just be moving forward very slowly, and then you shuffle everything up behind it. It's just a way to keep off the worst of it.
Yeah, and that makes sense too. And I just meant like from what we've seen the Union flatbows do to like full blown armor and shields.
Right.
But you got a good point though. They probably protect more than I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah. So they just have this whole it's a whole little siege battle, where they're looking around and they're seeing everybody fight, and there's people coming up, and they're using oil. There's boulders, there's everything. It's just like it's kind of just exactly what you would imagine the siege battle. I mean, it's written very well. You feel like, oh man, there's crazy stuff. But
and I love this sort of conflict that Glocta has on. He sort of feels a bit of a thrill, and he's like, oh, is that fear or excitement? And then after this shield gets burned and he sees all these men get slaughtered, he just thinks to himself, like, how did I ever think this was good? Like,
yeah, like even he knows like war is terrible.
Yeah, even the half crippled fucking torturer is just like, wow, war is bad, man.
Yeah, I wonder where he got that notion from.
Then we cut to him going down a long dim hall that had once been a temple, and they are he kind of makes this reference, right? It's where all the sick and wounded are being held, and where they're trying to treat them and everything. And I love how he makes this reference. He's like, oh yes, the noble superior coming to check the troops. The wounded, It's like,
and I like he's like, have you come to feed your guilt? And he's like, no, I've come to see if I have any.
Oh yeah, so Hadish Kadia is full blown, like medical, what is it, army surgeon. He's like, this guy's dead. Bring me the next one. I got to chop up his arm. Okay, next guy. Okay,
Yeah.
and he says that line to him too, which is interesting. Because I like this too because they don't really mention it that much in Glock's monologue and all that and how he thinks. But Hadish Kadi is, of course, he's in here in the front lines. He's not in the back. He's in the front lines helping as many people as he can the entire time, like nonstop. He's like doesn't even look tired. He's just like, okay, let's just keep going. And it's I don't know, something about that.
He's definitely an admirable character, isn't he? He holds on to the end. He does what he thinks right the entire time, and he can't be shaken.
No, he cannot be.
What a man!
What?
What a man!
He doesn't. He also has a tendency to not be like he does. He's not really that hurtful to others. He's just a good motherfucker. And he's the leader. He's the leader of the Dagaskins, and he's in the trenches with them up here. He's not like in the back. I mean, he's not in the front line, but that's not what his specialty is. So.
No, his specialty lies somewhere kind of opposite of being a good motherfucker in terms of torture.
What?
The opposite of Glock.
I must have missed. I'm sorry. I must have dropped the connection. Disregard that. George, take that out.
Disregarding.
It's all good.
Thank you. Continue, Harrison. I'm sorry.
Anyways, Glock does, they're showing kind of his. I feel like this part. I don't know if you guys agree, but this part, he's basically kind of just thinking to himself as he's looking around. He's here to check up on Kadia, and he's looking around and he's thinking about how they're probably screwed, and he's telling Kadia, like, hey, help is gonna come on the way. We just have to hold out. And Kadia's like, what help? He's like, no one's coming, bro.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's just like he's slowly coming to the. It's like he already knew he could possibly die, but Glock is now thinking like, okay, it's just slowly gonna come in. Like the fact that everyone has to keep going and yet doom is getting closer and closer no matter what is I don't know. The impending doom part is terrifying.
Yeah, and Joe captures this so well as well. Like you can just see everything getting worse in Zagoska. Like everything's just going to shit basically.
Which is interesting too compared to his letters, right?
You see, yeah, in the letters it's all well and good, we're holding them off and all that, but
it ain't no thing, Arch Lecter. I'm good.
Yeah. Then we have fucking Vitari sneaking up on Glockter, and she scares him. He's like, "Damn it! Did anyone ever tell you to not ever blah blah blah?" Didn't anyone ever teach you not to sneak up on people? They taught me the opposite. I need to talk to you. And they kind of he's a little nervous, right? Because he knows what Vitari is capable of and who she works for really. So he is like hesitant to go with her and talk somewhere else, but he does, and he's like looking around for Frost, and he's like, so he leaves, and she's like, "Where the fuck is Ida?" And he's like, "Oh, I love the audiobook version too because it sounds like he's genuinely like he sounds like a Scooby-Doo character trying not to lie."
And I like how he's like, "What?" And then just stops for a second. It's like, what do I think? And
yeah, he says, "Oh, her, she's at sea. True, with 50 strides of good chain around her. False." She's adorning the bottom of the bay now, since you ask. It's like, no one would ever believe that. Which is so funny, because he is a good liar. What the hell is he doing?
Yeah. This is a major slip-up. What the fuck is he doing?
Although, I do wonder, I don't know if Joe was thinking about it like this, or he just was trying to make it appear that way Vitari could catch on. But, I would say to a certain degree too, he's caring less because he's like, I'm not gonna leave. Who the fuck cares if people know? To a certain degree, he still cares a bit, but there's that kind of, like you said, there's that slipping of everything getting worse, and that's what we're seeing from his point of view.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. He just stopped caring.
Yeah, or caring less, about those details.
I mean, even less than we thought he used to not care.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So very minimal. Minimal caring given.
He's already at his max capacity.
I love the way this chapter ends as well. And he's like, just what should I tell him about Salt, about Ida? And he's like, just tell him the truth. Tell him she's dead. Tell him we all are.
Yeah, that is a good line, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It kind of plays into that what we're talking about. But basically, she's like, "Listen, we need to. You need to tell me what's going on." And he's like, "We could work together." She basically is like so desperate because she doesn't want to be in Salt's bad side that she just wants to make sure their stories line up. She doesn't even care if she is dead or not. She just wants to make sure the stories line up. So he's like, "Oh, okay. Well, then there you go. She's dead." So,
Nice. What do you guys rate that chapter?
Harrison?
I'm gonna go with a 6.5.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the Glockta check-in is really good. I like the progression of the siege. It's very important for it to be in there. But we've kind of rounded off the main, like the thrill of Dagosket was the intrigue, and I feel like you can kind of feel that here. And where it's still excellently written and the Glockta is great. The only change other than the status update is the fact that Glockta is a bit more worn down and Vitari is wanting, is not exactly working for Salt. She's just trying to survive Salt. So other than that, though, it's a good chapter, but there's not much progression overall, I don't think, really, which is fine.
Yeah, I'm going to have to say the same. I'm going to say a 5 for this one. Like, I love the... Well, that's the thing, right? There's not that many stakes in this battle. We don't really... Even Glockta doesn't really care that much about Dagosket, and he knows it's a lost cause. So seeing all this sort of, I don't want to say action, but you know what I mean. The whole siege segment, which does take up a sizable chunk of this chapter, is, kind of hammers the point home.
Sake.
Yeah, it's grim for grim's sake. But I like the bit with Ida. I like the bit with Cardia, and I like Vitari as well. Like, the side characters really do make this chapter.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a good point.
Even our boy Severod, who's like, "Fuck this! I don't get paid enough for this shit."
Why are we still fucking here? We solved the fucking mystery, didn't we?
Jeff?
I'll give it a 6 out of 9. Basically the same reasons you guys said. Not much. Like, it's a nice chapter. It's nice, we have a nice a little appearance from Ida. We get Glockta, being kind and not torturing her to, beyond recognition and letting her free. The funny bit with Casca and Severard on the wharf and everything, and like just standing there waiting for that stone to murder him. But not excuse me. And then we see Kadia, which is always a plus. And then not much. So I gave it a 6 out of 9. And so now we'll move on to our character spot, which is Harrison.
Hottish Kadia.
Kadia.
Hottish Kadia in the house.
Kadia.
It's greatly agreed upon that Hottish Kadia is the best person in the entire series.
Yeah, he's so fucking good. He's such a good man.
He's
down, bar none.
Yeah, like even by our modern day standards of everyone's fairly nice in terms of like the brutality compared to the brutality of the First Law, he is still incredibly nice.
Yeah,
like the way
he's shining light.
Not just nice, he's got balls of steel. He fucking says to Glockta the second he walks in, "I fucking hate you. Or I hope you die." And he's just absolutely resolute, and I love him.
Yeah, and he's not like a pussy though, right? Like you're right. He's not he's not a nice guy. He is a strong, courageous, kind, understanding, absolutely sacrificial and faithful leader. And
and he's honest and he's righteous though. You know what I mean? He's righteous.
But he's not righteous like he kind of even points it out when he's talking to Glockton in one of the chapters. He's not righteous like the Gurkish are, where they use their actions, they use their
no.
God to justify their actions. They
Right.
use
He's not. Yeah, he's not self-righteous. I'm just meaning like just his behavior. That's a righteous dude, is what I'm saying.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
no. I'm on board with you there. I was saying
Okay.
I like how he, there's that difference there of instead of using God to justify your actions, he is basically using his own kindness to prove that God is real.
Mhm.
And that is something that is a big is controversial in our modern day. And the fact that Joe was able to slip that little commentary in there and a character in this way to show, like, look, this is a perfect fucking you want to be a good religious man, be like him.
Mhm. Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's the truth. No one can disagree with that. Even if you do, then obviously you're probably like,
A stupid goofball.
a white supremacist or something because he's black, or something weird. But anyways, any more thoughts on our boy?
No, he's precious and he needs to be protected at all costs.
Mhm. He's a straight up G in my book. So I love Kadia. Did
All
I
right.
lose you guys? Okay, no, I didn't
Yeah.
lose you guys. I just want to make sure. So
I think
do you
that's
want to?
anything else, Harrison?
No, I think that's everything for him.
Sweet.
Okay. All right. So we'll move on to our third and final chapter read through, which is So This Is Pain.
And we get Giselle waking up from his horrible fucking whatever happened, which we get explained now. Somebody came up and stabbed the fuck out of him, and
More like caved his face in with the mace, right?
Yeah,
yes,
then they hit him again with the
hit
Oh,
him in the face, and then hit him in the arm, and then it's awful. But he wakes up in the back of this fucking cart, and it's just squeaking and jolting, and it's like, ow. After a Saturday night.
Ow!
Ow.
And I actually really love the title of this chapter too. It's so perfect. So this is pain. Like it's just I was like, oh.
He's like, so this is what they mean. Oh.
He's completely fucking clueless.
Not when I stub my toe. It's this, okay. And I like how this ties in with the part 2 quote, which is he is not fit for battle, that has never seen his own blood flow, who has not heard the crunch of his own teeth under the blow of an opponent, or felt the full weight of his adversary upon him.
Oh yeah, that's Giselle now. He now knows all that thing. He knows all those.
Yeah,
he's trying to get to grips with his injury, isn't he? He's like, why does my tongue feel like it's 3 times the size it should be?
Mm-hmm.
Why can't I open my mouth?
Because you got no mouth.
Yeah.
But Logan's right here, and he's just like, hey, take it easy, bro. You got the easy job, all right? Light duty.
Yeah, and I love how he holds his hand and everything. He's like, oh,
I know.
it's so sweet.
Hey, we get the impression that Giselle's parents, for whatever reason, were not very affectionate, physically. There it seems to be obviously they seem to have given him plenty of affirmation, and they seem to have had confidence in him and taught him lessons in terms of like human beings, but not like self-examination.
Right.
And maybe Logan being so affectionate whenever in Giselle's greatest time of need, whenever he realizes that he is, and right before this, he realizes that he is alone, and Logan being there, it is very sweet.
Nursemaid Logan.
So this whole section right here, he's just sitting in there thinking, and how he has so many different thoughts here. He's got, oh, am I gonna be like Glockta? He's got the whole, he's almost gonna be like the old war cripple, like, oh, there's that guy who won the contest, now he's a loser.
Now he's a loser. Love it.
What a waste! What a shame! Here he comes. Let's move.
That's so good, George. Then Logan comes up and he's like, you need some water, and he's like, you got a drink. you can tell it's very painful for him to like do anything, which makes sense. And he helps him up. He drinks and everything, and then he talks to him about what happened, which you guys kind of already went over. He attacks him, and then Kwai smushed his skull in, which we talked about in last week's episode.
Apparently hard enough to break the actual pan as well.
Yeah, bent it backwards.
If you ever held a cast iron pan, you know it's quite difficult.
Yeah, I own 3. So.
Gentlemen, I own. Wait, you say I own 3? I didn't realize you were an expert, Jeff.
I'm an expert with the cast iron, baby.
Please, I own 3.
Yes.
You fucking Jeff bragging over it.
Yeah, man.
But you be careful. You're gonna get robbed.
Just rob you with frying pans.
What they take?
Rob you off your frying pan.
No. How dare they?
Jeff fucking sleeps with them. Didn't you know? That's where his parents sleep.
I have one for each ferret.
Oh shit! All right. Okay.
So yeah, Kwai was saving Giselle basically, and then
he's like, oh man, he's like, am I gonna am I gonna be all right? And and Logan, well, he doesn't say anything, but you can know he's like freaking out, and Logan can kind of see that, and he's like, I've had worse. You'll get through. He's he says, like everybody cries, like it's all right, I cry. He's trying to comfort him there. And, I like this part too because Logan's talking about like what the wound is like, and he's like, oh yeah, you'll be all right. I mean, it's not gonna heal up exactly perfect, but you'll be okay. It's like a naming wound. Like it's a wound worse enough that you'll be named after it.
Yeah, and I love these names he comes up. And this can't be like comforting just Alan's soul. It's like they'll call you broke jaw or a bent face or a lack teeth or something. And I was just sitting there like starting to cry.
My face.
And he's like, I'm not making this better, am I?
Don't forget, he had the most perfect jaw. Did any other king ever had a jaw like his?
Mm-hmm.
And now it's no mas. It's no mas.
It's gone. It's shattered. The thing that he says too right here, right? Is it, like when he's mentioning those names, though, like Logan is like smiling about it. Like he's actually like, yeah, because he's thinking like he's proud of Giselle for like in his culture, he's like, oh man, he stood up and fought. He got an injury. He survived. What a man. You get your name now. If Logan was chief, he would have named him then. Fucking Bitface or something stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, we laugh at those names, but like all the names in the North are pretty fucking stupid.
Yeah, they are. They really are.
There's only a few that are actually badass. Fucking Rudd 3 trees? Are you serious? That's a name you can stand behind. What?
And I like how Logan, I guess, looks at Giselle starting to cry. He's like, "Oh, I'm not helping her now."
Yeah. Because he starts talking about like, well, at least the rot hasn't got you. It probably would have set in by now. And he's like, what? Rot in my mouth?
Rot what?
Rot who?
In my mouth? What?
What you say?
So then they, obviously time passes and they're stopping by the shore of a wide lake, and Pharaoh's in front of him, like, trying to fix his bandage up, and Baez is up now, looking skinny and gaunt and fucked up as ever, but awake. And, he's like, Giselle asks, like, where they are, and it's interesting that he mentions this, because I think that most maps forget about these lakes, because honestly, I always do, but there are, like, 3 large lakes on the way to Alcas. Oh, okay.
Yeah, they just kind of pass by them without any kind of incident at all, don't they?
Yeah, it definitely does give you that North American vibe, though, the Great Lakes kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
While they're on their way to destroy Detroit, you know what I mean?
You okay? Why
No,
Detroit?
Alcus is Detroit.
It's all true. Oh shit! It's 8 Mile. Detroit, what? Alcus, what, baby?
Oh shit. So, sorry to all the Detroit listeners. There is. So there was a. And
Someone
then,
hasn't stolen whatever you listen to your podcast on.
Oh shit!
Sorry, I don't even know. I'm just repeating memes off the internet.
Hey, you live in fucking Liverpool.
That's a good point.
Anyways, he's like, oh, we're about halfway through their journey, which is well, at least to Shibulian, at least. And then fucking Giselle, this is sad, honestly. He's like, how bad is it? And she's like taking off this bandage, and she's like, you confused me with someone who cares.
Yeah.
And
he just like immediately starts sobbing.
He's like, there's this gentle touch of a woman, right? Even though it's Pharaoh. And I did forget to mention, right? Does he mention he does mention like thinking about like Artie and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And because it is, I like how he's like, oh, she's probably you know, if she was here, she'd take care of me. And then he's like, who am I kidding? She'd already be with another man. And he starts thinking about how she's like making out with other dudes. And he's like, damn, bro. Super depressing. But anyways, sorry to be distracted.
I love how as he's thinking this, like Baez is just going on a fucking lecture, and he's just talking about Herod the Great or whatever, and he's just like, oh, I miss my girlfriend.
Oh shit. You're right. He does go on for a while, doesn't he?
It's a very long lecture.
you know Baez can talk.
And then he's like, all right, you know the drill. Logan gets down and he helps him up, and Giselle is like, thank you. And like, I think this is the first time he says thank you.
Yeah.
I think it is.
And with how well Joe Rusty's characters, you really feel that,
Mm-hmm. And you can tell that Logan feels it as well, because he looks at him and he's just like, And you can see it. Well, you can't see it, but I can imagine him sort of just like reconsidering it entirely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's probably thinking, here I had no hope for this young idiot, and now look at him. And then he's just like, small gestures in time.
Yeah.
That and losing half your face.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. And then, he's like basically like, oh yeah, and there's nothing true. You treat folk the way you'd want to be treated.
Yeah, isn't that? Does that mean Logan's Jesus?
You said Logan is
No,
Jesus?
Logan's father is Jesus, obviously.
Oh, shit.
Oh.
Because his father says that, right? You treat people the way you want to be treated?
Oh, right. Yeah, okay. I was about to say, like, thank you. We have different interpretations of Jesus.
I know
okay.
I use this too much with Logan, guys, but...
Of course, Harrison. Of course.
Logan's like, treat people the way you want to be treated. I'm sorry, I can't hold it in anymore. Ironic.
Look, Logan treats people well enough. Now, a certain other person that might, hang out in Logan's body.
Yeah.
Might,
it's definitely not Logan's fault. I mean, he's only just it's just the people around him. He's just a leaf on the water. He has to just do it. In front of him.
On the water.
No choice at all.
I think this is a topic for another video.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
To be clear, George, you're probably gonna have to cut off from whenever I start talking about Lord Sidious over here.
Yeah, you're gonna have to cut that out, George. Sorry. Don't. Oh my god.
Okay. Anyways, he helps him up.
Logan was basically go ahead.
Yeah, he helps him up and everything, and Baez starts riding up as they're going on around, and Giselle's like, "You saw it?" And he's like, "You saw what?" He's like, "This," and he points at his face. He's like, "Oh yes, I saw it. How bad is it?" He says, "Do you know? All in all, I believe I like it. You like it?"
And he's like, "You like
it?" Fucking Stephen Pacey is amazing.
Yeah.
Raggy? He's like, not now, perhaps. And he just says, oh, yeah, all in all, I think it will serve. And then Giselle's like, serve? Serve what? And then Bias is like, Howard the Great had a scar.
I like how he just generally goes back into the lecture and he's like, he knew, you see, that Ardlick had a beautiful wife. And Giselle just fucking ignores him.
Well, no, not this time.
Oh, no, he doesn't ignore him. He actually listens to him.
This time he says, you know what, even though he has heard this story before, he is going to take it in stride. And he watched the sun on the water. I don't know why I really like that, but that is so important because Giselle has not appreciated fucking little moments and human life and beauty like that at all. Mm-hmm. And instead, he sits there, he thanks his friend. He thinks about, how much better he's going to be. Maybe not now because obviously he can't do anything about it. Maybe not now,
right?
Which I like how that too because it adds a little bit of tension there. He's not just like I'm a good man now. He's like, but not yet. But and then he watches the sun go down as he listens to a little man talk about stories rather than fucking being pissed off.
Yeah, I do. It's good. I'm gonna give this chapter a 9.
What?
Full fucking score.
Wow.
Because we've been putting up with this chapter of Giselle just being a whiny little shit, doesn't appreciate him, treats people like shit, doesn't know what he's got. And to see him humbled like this is the most satisfying character moment I've ever read in a book.
Wow.
It is very satisfying. And I did forget to mention it, but I know I mentioned it before, but the relation to him and Ladislaw, and even including the title of the book, or the title of this part, and how they bounce off each other, and that very subtle dynamic is really good.
What would you guys rate this one?
I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 9. I mean, I love seeing Giselle come to terms with like what he used to be, and what he's not anymore. He's not a you could say quote unquote the handsome perfect dude he was, but obviously showing gratitude to Logan and trying to connect with Pharaoh and actually like paying attention or like not like immediately disregarding Baez with the whole lecture that he does. It's satisfying turn of events, for me.
Yeah, for sure. I think I'll probably rate this. I'm gonna go with a. I mean, I'm pretty conflicted about
Man,
this.
he's killing me.
I know. Attention.
Yes.
I'm gonna go with a 7 and a hat and a knuckle.
7 and a knuckle. Okay.
The reason being is because I really like it for the same reasons that you said, George. Really good character stuff, but it's not as satisfying on the second read through. Now, not saying that it has to be satisfying and that it has to be as 100%, but there are many moments in these book series that are just as good as the first time read through. And in this one, it seems like, yes, okay, we've gotten to this point. Again, that was really nice. This is a really nice chapter. But I'm also like, okay, it's another chapter on the more than one read through. But no shame in the 9, brother. No shame.
No, I mean,
it is. You're right.
It's George's world. We're just living in it, so.
NPCs, bro, forever.
So we'll move on to our community interaction segment. Harrison, you take the lead on this one.
Yes, sir. This time, I completely stole the idea with permission from the Bloody Niner, who is a guest spot, who we speak to fairly often, and is a really good guy. And anyways, he mentioned in our private little chat that about picking about picking your like instead of I picked the build your army, and he basically mentioned something about building a dozen, like named men. So I thought that was a fantastic idea. So I put it up, and my only rules were you can only pick 12. They have to be Northmen or women, and your dozen is a whole unit. So make sure you boys or girls get along, because I didn't want people saying, "Oh, I'm gonna pick Logan and Black Dad." That's not gonna work, obviously. So, but people had some really good ideas, and the whole point was for people to make some like kind of OP builds. Can you imagine these people actually got together and how like crazy they would be working together? And people had some really good ideas. I think the best one on here was the first guy who commented. Perfect. He says 3 trees leader. Everybody respects him, obviously. Craw, he's an amazing second already. Toldaru, he's like the big, he's a huge warrior. Grim, an amazing archer. Dogman, good scout. Rika has the long fucking eye, or is close enough to it. Ithern for Rika, and she's also no pushover. Wonderful would be a great tactician. Wearing a Bly for his battle prowess. Forley, that way he can keep everybody balanced. And Beck, the one who dies first because he doesn't like him.
Yeah.
But honestly, it's fucking great. I love it. It's like, it actually feels like a group that would get together. That's why I love that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is it's very like organic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And people talked about this back and forth, like why they didn't like Beck or why they did like Beck. And a lot of people were commenting on that one. And I don't know why. I didn't know Beck sucked. I'm surprised. I guess, don't get me wrong. He makes a mistake. But still, compared to some of the things that the other people do in the stories, and that being his only like bad thing he does in the heat of a moment as almost a child, I give him quite a bit of sympathy for it. But maybe other people
don't. Give him some leeway.
Or maybe people just don't like. I don't know what it could be.
It is interesting because it was never my favorite like point of view in the heroes.
Oh, no,
but he's far from the worst. Like,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, what is the worst point of view in the heroes?
I don't mean in the heroes.
In the heroes,
just in the books in general.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because I was gonna say in the heroes, he probably is like the least.
Yeah.
Like his point of view is probably the least in terms of like quality, but right? Or is there anybody else? Oh no, maybe Leader Ligon when he gets murdered, but
It's Leather Ligon.
Leather Liquor.
We also had some really funny comments, like my favorite, which I never. He says Red Hat times 12. It's not even Logan. It's Red Hat specifically. I don't know why that's so funny. So stupid. And then below that, I was like, I guess I didn't say you can't do duplicates. And then somebody put Brumadan Gorse, like labeled that out like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all the way down to 12. Just and then number 13, dishonorable mention, Shivers. Oh, I don't know why that was hilarious. So, and there's some other really cool, get-togethers. People should definitely jump in here and take a look at it, and see, what kind of.
Just as an honourable mention, there's one where I can't remember all of his choices, but he's got like a reason for all of the ones that he's picked, and then he just goes the dog man, and then just moves on.
Trying to find it.
I think that's this is Croker McGee.
Oh, it is Croker McGee, yeah.
It's just like, wearing a Bly because he's a cheese aficionado. Sherlock is Sheehan wearing a geek out over cheese. Wow, this guy really likes cheese. What the fuck?
Oh, fuck me.
But it's just like, then it's just the dog man. And then move on.
It's perfect. Oh, yeah. There are some pretty good group togethers. Somebody said this is a good one. Somebody said, damn, this is a good question. He only commented like 13 hours ago. As of recording late. But so he wouldn't have been in the original if we did it Sunday. But he said, the dog man, he said, I can't speak. Wonderful. It's 2023. The future of the North is female. So, you good, Jeffrey?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm sorry.
And finally, my last one that I really like, it was somebody said 11 scales and 1 Calder. I just love the way people talk about it like they're going shopping. Like, oh, yeah, I'll take 12 tacos and a fucking torta. I don't know. It's like, it's...
I don't even know where to begin with that one. Okay.
You know what a torta is?
Yeah, I know what a torta is. I'm surprised that you said it.
What? I like
I don't
tortas.
know.
Hey, do you, man? I'm surprised they have them in Oklahoma, is all I'm saying.
Bro, we're closer. What? We're closer to Mexico than you are, bitch. There's more Hispanic people here than probably over. You're by New York, though, I guess. So, fuck you. I love you, Jeffrey. We have anything else?
Google what that is.
It's fucking fire. That's what it is.
It just looks like a sandwich.
Yeah, but it's. We'll have to get him one when you come and visit.
Yeah.
We'll have to go to a food truck and.
It's going on the list.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What, you got a list? Oh, I can't wait to see.
You know he does.
Fuck yeah, bro.
You know he does.
All right.
Okay. Is that it?
That's it. Yeah. If you guys have anything else to say about it.
No, I'm good.
I loved that one. That was a really good little thing on there. Well done.
Mm-hmm.
That's a Bloody
Good
Niner.
job, Harrison.
But thank you, guys.
And thank you, Bloody Niner.
Thank you, Bloody Niner. That's the show, everyone. We want to thank you all for listening and supporting this podcast. This is a passion project for the three of us, and your support means a lot to the three of us.
Join us next time as we go through one step at a time. The rest is wasted breath and a matter of time.
And make sure you follow us on social media and check out our website. We are the Circle of the World.
And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever else you get podcasts from. And please make sure to rate and review this podcast as it helps to spread our reach. Thank you all again for listening.
You got light duty, you lucky bastard.